So the New York Times claims to publish all the news that's fit to print, but when it comes to opinions, some employees say there's only room for one side. Just a few weeks after Times editorial page editor James Bennett stepped down, he was considered to be maybe the next in line to lead the paper. After fierce backlash from the op-ed from Republican Senator Tom Cotton, it was called Send in the Troops. Tonight, conservative columnist and editor Bari Weiss is also leaving. She alleges that she was brandished a Nazi and a racist on internal social media by her coworkers, and that alternative viewpoints are just stifled. Quote, stories are chosen and told in a way to satisfy the narrowest of audiences, she writes, rather than to allow a curious public to read about the world and then draw their own conclusions. Joining me now, Ayaan Hirsi, human rights activist and fellow at the Hoover Institute. Ayaan, great to see you tonight. Thank you for being here. What's your reaction to Bari Weiss's letter and her decision to go?
I think she is the stuff that courage is made of. I think she understands that we are at a crossroads here in America and in other civilized Western countries. This is about Western civilization, and I think we are transitioning from being open societies to becoming closed societies. And Martha, you asked me what defines an open society? It's freedom. What defines a closed society? It's fear. And it looks like the New York Times newsroom and opinion pages are adopting fear.
You know, one of the other things that she says is that Twitter, she calls it the Twitter masthead. She says Twitter is not the masthead of the New York Times, but Twitter has become the ultimate editor. There's a lot of truth to that, I think.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. There are so many of us who see what social media is doing, and it's really quite harmful. We're being led down a path to hell through institutions like Twitter. But there's also a lack of leadership. If you read Bari's letter, you are going to read that all the bullying and the terrorizing that goes on, and that good people are afraid to stand up and say anything. But the leaders, the people who are supposed to discipline what I call censorship terrorists, they're not doing their jobs. And by the way, today we're talking about the New York Times, but it's not only the New York Times. It's our institutions of higher learning. It's our culture, and you and I have been looking at this for much longer than what we are seeing today, but it's really bursting out into the scene. This is alarming. This is disturbing. We have to fear for our open society.
And you're right. I mean, so much of this did start at the academic institutions across the country. And we also saw, in many cases, a failure of leadership there as well, where the president of the university wasn't willing to stand up and say, back off. Let this person say what they think. There's two sides that we need to all consider here. It rarely happens anymore. People get cowed very, very quickly.
Very quickly. And I think years ago, I was deplatformed by Brandeis, and people got upset. I remember that vividly. But way back, it was, what is the leadership going to do? Now what we are seeing is not just that the leadership is being silent and doing nothing. No, they're actively appeasing the mobs. And then we really know, that things are going to go off a cliff.
Thank you, Ayaan. Strong words that everybody, I think, needs to hear as we look at all these situations. I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you very much.